Hi guys, we are now in the second quarter for our Module 7 in Science. In this module, we will learn about the different ecological relationships in the community. We'll provide you with informations and activities that help you understand the different ecological relationships that takes place in the ecosystem.
After going through this module, you are expected to attain the following objectives. Most essential learning competency: describe the different ecological relationships found in an ecosystem. Subtasks: define ecological relationships. Identify the different ecological relationships found in an ecosystem. Describe the roles of the participating organisms in every type of interactions, and explain how the organisms are affected by the relationship.
In the previous module, we talked about the different abiotic and biotic components of the ecosystem. So when we talk about abiotic components, these are the non-living things that is considered to be part of the ecosystem. We also have the biotic components of the ecosystem, which are considered to be the living things or the organisms. An example of our abiotic components are the sun, we have water, we have soil, and other gadgets that we use inside our home. Another, we have the biotic components of the ecosystem. Examples of this are our plants, we, human organism, and other lower forms of animals.
Interactions are important in an ecosystem. Just like humans, relationship exists among organisms in an ecosystem. Organisms in the ecosystem depend on one another for survival. Interdependence among organisms increases survival of the organisms that live in a particular ecosystem. Organisms interact with each other and their environment to meet their basic needs and survive. These interactions are called ecological relationships. Different species have different requirements for their survival, and one of them is their habitat. A habitat is an area where an organism lives. An organism doesn't only have a habitat, it has also a role or position in an ecosystem. The role of an organism in an ecosystem is its niche. An organism's niche generally describes how it meets its need for food, shelter, and reproduction. Organisms interact in the ecosystem to form various relationships. These relationships are essential to a healthy ecosystem. These interactions may have positive, neutral, or even negative influences on interacting population. Let us have the pretest first. You have 15 minutes to answer the given pretest. You may pause the video while you are answering. Good job! To assess your knowledge from the previous topic, let us do the following activity on Jumpstart Activity 1. Who are you? 10 minutes to answer the activity, and you may also pause the video while answering.
Organisms living together in a biological community interact constantly. Interactions among species would include biotic and abiotic factors. There are also interactions among species in which organisms are neither harmed or benefited. All these interactions takes place in the ecosystem. So let's find out what are the different interactions in the community.
Symbiotic relationship occurs when two participating organisms live closely together for a certain period of time, or when they cannot be separated, so they have to completely live together throughout their lifetime. There are three types of symbiotic relationships. We have mutualism, where both participating organisms are benefited. Mutualism is a give and take relationship. A bee pollinating a flower. The bee obtains nectar from the flower. In return, they help in the transfer of pollen grains from one flower to another, which enable flowering plants to bear fruits. Another is a carabao with an egret at its back. The bird gets a free ride, so it conserves its energy and feeds on the parasites on the hair of the carabao. The carabao is freed from parasites. Another give and take relationship is a clownfish and the sea anemones. The clownfish feeds on small invertebrates that harm sea anemones, and in return, sea anemones provide shelter and protection against predator for the clownfish. Commensalism, where one organism is benefited while the other one is neither harmed nor affected. The organism that benefits from the relationship is called the commensal. In the case of the shark and the remora fish attached on its ventral side, the remora fish gets a free ride and food for the leftovers of the shark. The shark is not affected by the presence of the remora and does not benefit from the association. Between the shark and the remora fish, which is the commensal and which is the host? You're right. The commensal is the remora fish and the host is the shark. In a tropical rainforest, many plants dwell on the branches of trees. These plants include orchids, ferns, and non-parasitic vines. Plants that live on other objects such as tree branches are called epiphytes. An orchid plant attached high up on a tree trunk. The orchid plant has a safe place to grow and can obtain water dripping from the tree that can use as a raw material in making food. The tree does not benefit from their interaction. That makes the tree the host and the orchid as the commensal. Another type of symbiotic relationship is called parasitism, where one organism benefited from the relationship while the other one is harmed. The organism that is benefited in the relationship is called the parasite, while the one harmed is called the host. Parasites may live inside or outside the body of the host. A parasite found inside the host is called an endoparasite. The word endo means inside. An example of this is a tapeworm found inside the human intestines. Between the tapeworm and human, which is the parasite? Which is the host? You're right. The parasite is the tapeworm and the host is the human. If the parasite is found outside the body of a host, it is referred to as ectoparasite, which means outside. An example is a mosquito on human skin. A parasite uses its host as a source of food, and usually, the parasite may weaken or sicken its host, but sometimes it may even be the reason why the host die. Another type of ecological relationship is competition, predator and prey relationship, and as what mentioned a while back, we have the symbiosis. This type of relationship happens when more than one organism uses a resource such as nutrients, water, space, and mate at the same time. The carrying capacity of an environment is the maximum population size of a species that an environment can support. Competition can be between the same species or different species. The one that is stronger or more competitive usually survives. The weaker one may die or move to another habitat. Competition that occurs within the same species is referred to as the intraspecific competition. These owls, for example, compete for rats or other means or sources of food. These male zebras compete for each other for a female mate. These pine trees that live closely together compete for the sunlight and the nutrients coming from the soil. And these water buffalo compete for water, food, and possible mate. And the same with these hippos, which compete for food, water, and mate. On the other hand, competition between two or more organisms of different species is called interspecific competition. Different trees in a tropical rainforest compete for the sunlight and nutrients. The bear and the wolves compete for the same food. The lions and the hyena compete for the same food. In fact, they like taking each other's food. Animals hunt and eat other animals. This interaction is called predator and prey relationship or predation. This happens when the predator consumes the prey for food, just like in the case of a bear that eats the salmon. The bear that consumes the salmon is a predator, and the salmon is the prey. Prey animals are usually smaller and less powerful than the predator. Relationships among organisms can be more complicated than who benefits or loses from the direct interactions. Both direct and indirect interactions have been driving forces for evolution, leading to deeply interconnected communities within ecosystems. The relationships often become more intricate and interdependent through time as the species help and harm each other, responding to the organisms around them. These interactions often lead to stabilizing feedbacks and persistent ecosystems. Sometimes, however, a geologic event, evolution of a revolutionary process, or the introduction of a new species can disrupt the established relationships and lead to ecological change that triggers an amplifying feedback. Interactions between organisms, including humans, are the nature of life and have tremendous impact on the functioning of health of ecosystem. Good job! You are now ready to strengthen your understanding of the topic. You are tasked to answer Explore Activity 2. You are given 10 minutes to complete the task. And then, you answer Activity 3, who is benefited, who gets harmed, and Activity 4, frenemy, are we friends or are we enemies? You are given 10 minutes each to finish the tasks. Well done! For the last activity, you answer gauge 1 to 10. You are given 10 minutes to finish it. Congratulations! You are done with your Science Module 7.